Bam! Hello again and welcome to the Mana Pool. This is episode 498 of the Mana Pool. Whoo! That big 500 is just looming over us.
Looming was exactly the word that came to mind.
Yeah.
Not loaming, but looming.
Well, because like perving on just doesn't sound right. Anyway.
I say that brought the conversation to a screeching halt.
Yes.
Good job.
My specialty. So, I am Chewy, the lead dork and conversation halter. Not to be confused with a halter top. That's a different thing.
That is also exactly what came to mind.
I know. I'm reading your mind right now. I was trying to come up with a good
joke for that, but I couldn't do it. Damn.
And I got these other dorks here. Who are you people? What are you doing in my apartment?
I'm Brian. I'm the lead rambler, tangent master, talky guy, and I am currently not in Chewy's apartment as far as he knows. I do not make a claim as to whether or not I am not in somebody else's apartment, though.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm Mike. I'm the rules guy and the game lore guy, and I can definitively say that I am not in Brian's apartment because Brian doesn't live in an apartment.
It's true.
And I am Dirk, the self-proclaimed greenest man alive and moral compass of the group, and I can definitively say that I am definitely not in either Mike nor Chewy's location because I do not live in an apartment either.
I mean, you could just be creepily in my apartment.
Well, you know, I didn't state that fact. So I leave to the listeners, to interpret my meaning.
Dirk, I can see you around the corner. You're not hiding.
You didn't see anything.
Oh my god. Anyway.
These are not the droids you're looking for.
That is accurate.
It's either Dirk or a really big cat.
I don't have a cat. Mike, do you have a cat?
No.
Wait. Dirk, do you have a cat?
Nope.
Brian, you have cats.
I do.
Okay, so Dirk's in Brian's house.
So that's everyone around here that has cats, right?
By process of elimination, yes, everyone within a 10-county area.
Well, actually, no, because our guest has a cat, but he decided not to speak up. So, we have a guest this episode.
Well, he's not within a 10-county area, we know that.
He's definitely not within a 10-county area. This is Captain Steven Rogers. No, wait, Steven Rogers, or Cap, from the Lair of Lore. Fresh, like yesterday, off of finishing up the 365-day streaming challenge that he and his wife crazily assumed.
And then I streamed again today, because I'm dumb.
Because he's dumb. Hey, buddy.
Yep. Hey!
So we brought Cap on because of reasons, but what those reasons are, I'm not going to tell you. Because first, we have some news that we didn't talk about last week. On purpose. Just so we're clear, none of you are actually in my apartment, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Are you in mine? Because I haven't checked mine
I'm gonna guess those
hours.
Noises are upstairs then. So yes, last week, over on the mothership, they had, well, on Valentine's Day, because it's the Valentine's Day mini announcement day. There were lots of little mini announcements about upcoming things for you to give them your money for.
Because they like your money.
Nope, one thing is free. And it's the Magic the Gathering Life Counter app.
As far as you know, it's free.
Well, no, it says it's free.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah,
I can't read.
If you read the article, it's a Magic the Gathering portal. It's going to be able to do home tournaments. It's going to have Gatherer in it, keep track of life totals and stuff. And it says stay up to date on Magic news. So it's going to have, like, links to the Magic site, maybe? Or this might be the one-stop shop for the 47 official sources of Magic news.
It won't do that.
Because it's not the freaking Magic website. But if you want to follow each individual R&D member's Tumblr, and the Magic Online Tumblr, and somebody's Instagram, and everybody's Twitter account, and the Magic website. Oh my god.
You know
Trying
this is just
to-
going to be number 48, right?
Trying to... Oh, God. It is, isn't it? Trying to keep track of where official things come from is a large pain when it comes to Magic, because everywhere's an official source. It drives me up the wall as someone who does Monday Night Magic. But anyway, it's also going to have a social aspect and links to rules and things and stuff. Yeah.
Cool.
And it will be, let's see, later in 2018. Didn't it say it was free? I thought it did.
Oh.
Yes, will be available free on iOS and Android phones in every language in which Magic publishes cards. I thought it did. Yeah. So that's the first thing. Hey, Mike, what's the second thing?
The second thing is a product called the Signature Spellbook. And the first one is for Jace. They're calling it a spiritual successor to the From the Vault series, because one of the, I think it was official source number 34, that revealed that they won't be continuing the From the Vault series. At least not as a steady every year or multiple times a year thing.
Yeah.
And
That was Mark Rosewater's Tumblr, by the way.
Okay.
I'm
They
being
always
serious, it was.
They always reserve the right to bring back whatever they want.
Yeah, whatever they want. So it'll just have, instead of being, like special fancy print versions of, these bizarre lands or these bizarre cards that were banned or these bizarre goblins or whatever, it'll all be themed around a given planeswalker. And like I said, the first one they're doing is Jace, because now he's the face of Magic. Granted, this is a lot more impressive than the Signature Spellbook Hurloon Minotaur would have been if they had tried this back in the day. So it says it has 1 premium foil and 8 cards that otherwise fit with the theme, and the retail is $20, because it's a pretty simple thing. But so yeah, they're gonna release the first one in the middle of June this year.
Nice. And it'll be Jace. Of some flavor.
Mm-hmm.
But as we pointed out over on Monday Night Magic, it's MSRP of $20, so don't expect a Mind Sculptor in there. Just saying. Hey, Brian, what's the next bullet point?
The next bullet point is for Battle Bond, which is a completely new booster release focused on two-headed giant limited play, which is a bit of a mouthful. But I feel like there's been a slight resurgence in two-headed giant. At least it feels like they're kind of remembering that it's a format. Because remember that Arch Enemy last year, that's a little different. But there was also they're kind of looking at some of these formats they haven't pushed in a while. So what was that? Anyway, so the Battle Bond is kind of like its own sealed product. And there's a link for the article by Gavin Verhey, and I assume that'll be in the show notes.
But you can click on it from the announcement day.
Well, basically, it's kind of like it says it's this year's quote unquote draft innovation set. For example, Conspiracy and Unstable are kind of in this front. So it sounds like it is actually a set. It's not just, you think of some of the packages they've done before where it's like this, you can buy it at Target. It's like, this is for 2 players and it's a preset deck. This is actually like a set. So
yeah, this is a full set, the summer release thing like Conspiracy or Unstable. Yeah.
Yep. There you go. That's about what we know here. Unless I missed a preview in here. Nope.
Yay. Hey,
Yay.
Dirk, what's the next thing on the list?
All right. One of my favorite things, some Commander. And so they actually made a couple of announcements with it, but I'll start with the first one. Commander fans are getting a double dose of awesome this year. First is Commander Anthology Volume 2.0. I mean, just 2.
Yeah.
Dos.
Last year we had was it last year?
I think so.
I think so. It was, Commander Anthology that was 4 of the old Commander decks from different years just shoved in a box. And that's what they're doing again, which is neat. Because a bunch of those cards, that's the only place they were ever printed was in that one particular deck. So, Yay.
So this one, the release date is June 8th of 2018. And just like the other one, it contains 4 previously released 100 card decks, including 13 premium foil commanders.
Yay. That's the same release date as Battle Bond. It's also is a week before Signature Spellbook. I'm noticing a trend here. They are churning out a lot of stuff for the 25th anniversary, which is this year.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be real, they were going to churn out a lot of stuff for the 24th anniversary, and the 23rd anniversary, and the 28th anniversary, whatever. Yay!
Yay.
Yay! Then we get new Commander decks! Commander 2018 comes out in August 10th. 4 new decks. Yay!
Yay.
Yet another yearly release thing that we'll have to devote at least one episode talking about the sweet new cards that most of us will not ever actually see or play with. But that's on us. Doesn't change the fact that the cards in Commander are usually really, really freaking cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then, hey Cap, I left this last one just for you because I got sick of trying to mispronounce names. Ha ha ha!
The Chinese market Planeswalker decks? Yeah. I don't know why this is an announcement. So on June 22nd in 2018, they'll be unleashing Chinese market-specific Planeswalker decks, which will still have an English version. So is this actually just we're releasing Planeswalker decks in China?
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Okay.
Well, no, the
You have to
characters
try to-
are specific to the release.
Oh.
Yeah, if you click on
okay.
the similar English version link, you can actually try to pronounce the name so we can laugh at you. So I can laugh at you.
Oh.
I don't know if the dorks will.
I misread that and thought that was like people related to it. Jiang Yanggu and Mu Yangling?
That's what I would have said.
I think I added a G in there somewhere,
You
but
did.
not sure where.
So yeah, it's a new Planeswalker decks thing that it's called Global Series, which is really cool. It looks like. Well, wait a minute. We read this somewhere. Was it on here? No. Was it on here? That is Cap's wife, who just periodically loses her mind for no reason.
I'm
by the way,
sorry, I
dear
have
listeners.
no idea why.
She'll be alright. I mean, she married you, so she can't be too right in the head. Anyway,
Oh, it hurts.
these are... Well, they're Planeswalker decks. 60-card decks. Originally designed by a team of Chinese artists, writers, and folklorists to explore a new branch of magic lore rooted in Chinese aesthetics and mythology. I'm just reading off of the product information page.
Mhm.
And this is really cool because what this hints at is that they're going to be doing this for different cultures around the world because it's called Global Series.
I mean, the 3-letter code for it is even GS1, so clearly they're intending to do more.
Exactly.
Do we need to put the cat tree in the bathroom?
That was a dog. So, yeah. This would be really cool if they, wander around the world and make up some Planeswalker decks for various cultures. Or like, how cool? How long till we get an Australian themed Planeswalker decks? Huh? They can have corks on the hats. It'll be sick. Every creature in the deck will be poisonous. It'll be awesome.
Oh gosh.
I
Look,
thought
it's
I was the
already
only
trying
person
to
who
kill
liked-
Mike.
I thought I was the only person who actually liked Infect.
I hate you. So there you go. That's the mini announcement day news. All the stuff that we didn't talk about last week. That was my bad. I intentionally avoided it last week. So
I'm thinking for the global series, I'm thinking the Murica one would have to be a silver bordered one.
Oh, yeah. That
It would
sounds
have to
wonderful.
involve Cheetos. Cheeto size and Cheeto appearing creatures, right?
all right, before we dive into politics, let's talk about something else.
Yeah.
So this was a Brian idea, but I'm gonna steal it. So
Go right ahead.
we talked about, I don't even remember what it's called now, but it was the MOBA for Magic
Yeah.
that is being developed on the mobile platform. Was that last week? Week before? Sometime recently.
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Where
But fairly, yeah, not too long.
whatever he said, where
Yeah.
the Planeswalkers of Magic are being used as the heroes for a MOBA. And that immediately pissed me off because, oh my god, I play Heroes of the Storm all the time. Why didn't I ever think of that? And actually, in the odds and ends that I just posted, I said to Mike, you know, Mike, this was after the show, after Brian left. I was like, you know, Mike, we're going to have to, like, look at each Planeswalker now and figure out what their abilities are going to be on a show or something. And Mike's like, I've never played a MOBA. I went, oh, we could do other game types too. And Mike's like, okay. And then that was the end of that conversation. I was like, you've played Diablo. It's the same thing. Whatever. You played Warcraft 3. It'll be fine.
I've only played 1 and 2. Okay,
1 and whatever it was. It's the same damn thing. Shut up. Just better graphics. All right, shut up. You're ruining the illusion, Mike. The point. This was like a conversation of less than like 5 minutes. Right. Way less than 5 minutes. Because when I listened through the odds and ends, I listened through them at 1.5 speed, so it was way less than 5 minutes. And then Brian sends out an email for the podcast this week. It was like, hey, since they did the MOBA thing and they're doing the MMO thing and all that, and arena and, you know, whatever, what if we were to try to put Magic in other types of video games? And I went,
yeah, I almost thought of this. Well, first of all, the inspiration was the whole MOBA thing. But second of all, think of it, this is almost the reverse of another topic we've done periodically where we're like, what if Magic, what if you took Magic as the card game, but then you applied it to different things like video games, like books and movies and that sort of stuff. So instead of taking those things and their subject material and turning them into Magic cards, we're turning Magic cards into this other format, this other conveyance, this other form of media. So Magic the Gathering, but as a blank type game. And just as a general discussion, what would that look like? And, you know, maybe some that you think would seriously be awesome and some that are just like, ha 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 ha, that's stupid. Because, you know, I love stupid stuff.
I mean, clearly you've been friends with us for a very long time.
It's true.
So, like, this is the reason, by the way, my first thought was, okay, I'm going to grab Cap for this episode. Because Cap plays more flavors of games than I think the four of us put together.
Probably.
Like, just earlier today, I'm not kidding, Cap, I'm totally telling people this, he was playing Monster Hunter World and Stellaris at the same time.
It didn't go super well, but it worked.
And Monster Hunter World is a Monster Hunter game, and Stellaris is a what?
It's a grand strategy game set in taking over a galaxy.
See?
One of them you can pause. You can't pause the other one.
With Stellaris you can pause?
Yeah, definitely can't pause Monster Hunter.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I have double-fisted it a little bit with games from time to time, like when I'm like, okay, I've got X amount of time before I have to get back to work, and I need to do my daily quest for Hearthstone, but let me also do my daily login for Kingdom Hearts, so I might, the mobile game, so I might have a phone in one hand and the laptop in the other hand and all that. But we're not talking about Monster Hunter World, which everything I know about it is like, you got it. Man, geez.
It was assuredly the focus. The thing about Stellaris is that even when it's not paused, you have some amount of control over how fast it's going. And unless you're at war with someone, you can queue up a lot of actions and sort of take a step back.
I gotcha.
So, it's easy to say we'll take these other genres and turn them into Magic cards because there's only one thing to focus on. How do those turn into cards? But trying to take Magic and its, you know, mechanics and environments and characters and turn it into video games is huge because there are a gazillion different flavors of video games.
Exactly.
So right now, Magic is doing the digital card game thing, which is just a digital representation of Magic. Mm-hmm. They're working on the MOBA thing, where your planeswalkers are heroes that have certain abilities that allow you to, you know, win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still, seriously, I'm pissed off that none of us thought of that. Like, that legitimately bothers me that we're just not paying attention.
Isn't there also some kind of MMO development going on?
There's the MMO development going on.
I forgot about the MMO until you mentioned it like
I forgot about it until I just thought of it.
Well, and there's also the movie and other stuff, so we can't, there's a lot of stuff out in the aether.
So we have those things covered. There's also, like, Magic Puzzle Quest, which is just Puzzle Quest with some magic flavor thrown in.
Right.
But what else could we do with the mechanics, characters, environments of Magic the Gathering in other video game genres? And I'm not gonna lie, the first thing that popped into my head was Ravnica City's Skylines.
Okay, that was one of mine too, but I sort of built off it and blended with other silly things.
Okay, well, why don't you talk about that? Because I don't know City Skylines.
So City Skylines is the modern, not crappy, not EA version of SimCity.
Yeah.
Okay. I had The Sims down on my list, so...
So, what if it took place on Ravnica, and you were like a poor... the mayor or whatever. What are you in City Skylines? What's your title?
You're the mayor.
Oh, you are the mayor. Okay, so what if you were the mayor? And instead of having to build... So, in City Skylines and SimCity, you had 3 basic flavors. You had industrial...
commercial
and residential. Yeah. But what if instead of that, and having to water and power and all that, you had to keep the 10 guilds all happy?
Oh. Maybe even just start out with one guild, and then you can kind of, as the game progresses, you can add the other guilds, because then you're kind of ramping up the conflict.
Well, no, because each
and the difficulty
guild,
level.
Each guild controls different aspects of city life in Ravnica.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, instead of having like a trash system, it's the Golgari.
It's the Golgari. Instead of having a power system, it's the Izzet.
Yeah. Instead of having the law, it's Boros. Instead of having,
oh, I get what you're saying. I think I'm visualizing like the 1-player tutorial mode where they're like, hey, you're the mayor, and maybe for the first level you only have the Azorius and maybe one other guild, and then the next level is, now you've kind of gotten a sense of that. Here's the Rakdos. Maybe the Rakdos are like the disaster button.
Oh God, and the Gruul to some extent.
Ah, true. Go ahead.
So the way that I took this was I combined Chewy's like basic idea, but with a little bit more of Crusader Kings 2, which is technically an RTS, sort of.
What's an RTS for our non-gamer?
Real-time strategy game. So like StarCraft, except that there's way less focus on armies. In fact, usually having an army means that something's gone terribly, terribly wrong. It's about trying to set up a political situation in fantasy Europe. Okay. So I was seeing this more as you go in and you are this guild, whatever guild you've picked, and your primary goal is actually just to try and not go to war at all times with every other guild in the city. And the way you do that in Crusader Kings is usually by trying to, like, in the same way that you build up your part of the city to be nice so that your people don't get angry, and then also be trying to, like, train up leaders who you can convince to, like, do diplomatic stuff with the other guilds, or trick them into, like, hiring on someone who you've made look really good on paper, who turns out to actually be really terrible and starts screwing up the other guild.
I think it'd be really interesting to see how the Dimir would play in that as well, because they're kind of there, but they're kind of not there. So that's really interesting. I like that. There's a lot of development room here. So I had put down on my list real-time strategy, specifically Warcraft, StarCraft, that kind of thing. But I think this fits in together pretty well. And you can also use, if you go into the real-time strategy aspect of it, you can use mana as a resource that you collect, much like in other real-time strategy. You have to get lumber, and you have to get, have to mine for gold and things like that. You can tap into the land for different types of mana, and then that's kind of goes into a bank that you can spend to do stuff. So, did you guys ever play Actraiser?
Oh yeah, I freaking loved Actraiser.
The brawl or the beat 'em up?
What?
Well, the original one, the original one was half side-scrolling beat 'em up. Well, like adventure, but the other half was a civilization building mode The second one completely got rid of the civilization building mode and focused on the action, which I can tell why they did it. But I was always really drawn to the first one for the period where you were building up the civilization, because the way it would work is you moved into a new area, you had to do a stage where you cleared out the monsters so that you could start to rebuild the population. Once you've cleared that first stage, you rebuild the population. You can use miracles and things to clear the land and give your people sustenance and all that. And then once the population reaches a certain level in that area, then the big bad for that area shows up. You go in and do another side-scrolling mission and beat the boss. And you do that to clear like 6 or 7 areas of the world. And so I can almost see some of that Actraiser, the world building function coming into play here, because keep in mind, you're a wizard, you're a planeswalker, so where do spells come into this, and how much can you interact with the environment? So that might be a way to do that. Maybe you could get spells either as cards that you use once, you use a lightning bolt and then you don't get it back for a while, or as something that once you've learned it, you can do it when you have enough mana, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe
in Actraiser, you were essentially a god, and you had the ability to use lightning or rain or intense
earthquakes,
sun or earthquakes, stuff like that, to affect changes in the environment.
In the English translation for the game, they called you the Master all the time, but I'm pretty sure the bad guy's name in the Japanese is just Satan. They gave him another name in the English, but
Nintendo of America was really big on zero religious iconography of any sort in its games. So yeah,
the fact that they let this get as much through as they did is pretty impressive. So yeah, I like that game. Shall we move to another area? Is there more we want to say about this kind of city building aspect specifically in the realm of Ravnica? Because I'll say, go ahead. I thought somebody was saying.
No one said anything.
I'm just hearing the voices. The format, the genre that actually I thought of first when I was thinking about is this viable or not, that made me go, was fighting game. And I thought specifically of like, what if you had Magic characters in like a Street Fighter type thing, or Mortal Kombat? And my first thought is that's so silly, but then I'm like, I like Mortal Kombat as much as anybody, but something that really struck me as the game went into its second and third installments was how many palette swaps they had. I'm sorry. I know that Reptile has a different moveset than Noob Sabat, who has a different moveset than Ermac, than Rain, but it's the same guy wearing a different shirt. And what I would
also really appreciate your restraint in not mentioning Scorpion or Sub-Zero, the two most well-known ones.
There you go. See, so there you go. My point. So with Magic, what I would love to see with this is drawing on the large cast of characters, because aside from Planeswalkers, which are the obvious go-to, you've got a ton of legendary creatures. And I even thought, wouldn't it be cool if you could even unlock some dopey characters, and maybe they're not as good.
Squire.
But I want to
Minotaur.
I want to see an achievement for beating Krovax with a Raging Goblin. I put that in my notes. or maybe even specifically like Mog Flunky, and you could call the achievement like Uprising or something. So.
Okay. I need to see this now done by, so just recently the new Dragon Ball Z fighting game came out by...
Dragon Ball Fighter Z or something, or Fighters.
By Arc System Works, who are really good at adapting other people's IP into a fighting game, and now I desperately want to see them do this.
See?
Because they've done a really good job with Dragon Ball Z, where you've got all these people shooting energy just for fun all the time now, in making that a legitimate thing you could do as a fighting style. You could do that really well with a bunch of people slinging goofy magic spells around.
And everything I've heard about that game is that it is extremely faithful to the source material, but still has enough fun with it that you can have like Yamcha beating, anybody, right?
I legitimately made Yamcha, so yes.
Yeah. So yes, something like that here. You've got a huge cast of characters for a number of stages. You have every plane on the multiverse, so you can have some. You can either have it just static, like Street Fighter. The background didn't really matter a whole lot; it was just aesthetic. But Mortal Kombat, you might have things that you could break, or ledges or things like that. I think ledges were also a thing in Killer Instinct. I remember playing the arcade, and I accidentally fell off the edge of a building my first time playing it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to respawn. And it's like, you died, 15 more quarters. And I'm like, what? So yeah, so I think there's some potential there, and really having some interesting move sets. The thing that drives me crazy with some fighting games is how the characters just all feel like they're the same. And I would hope that with Magic we could really get around that.
Yeah, I'm picturing more like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 or 3 than I am Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter.
Where you got like teams and...
Yeah, no, just in animation style, because those characters are all completely different from each other and have insane animations and whatnot, whereas, old school Street Fighter, and especially Mortal Kombat, in earlier Mortal Kombats, everybody had 2 punches, 2 kicks.
Yeah.
If you held back and pressed high kick, it was a roundhouse. If you held back and pressed low kick, it was a sweep, And the characters were all the same. It was just move sets were different. But like with Marvel vs. Capcom games, the animations, the sprites, the methods of attack, everything is completely... The hitboxes. Everything is completely specific to that character. And I think Magic could really benefit from something like that.
And I'm kind of picturing the style now, and Marvel versus Capcom is a lot of bright popping colors, and that sort of thing. And see, and you said that, and my thought immediately went to the teams, and you went in a different direction. But I kind of like the thought of you're hitting them with a Johnny, and then you kind of switch him out real quick to bring in a combo move with Liliana or something. So if you want to go like, maybe almost have set up teams that you can alter, like here's a guild pack team, here's a villains from Wrath
dude, that
team.
would be sick.
I mean, even if you just do it as you the same way as Marvel versus Capcom, you just assign your team. When they do those sort of things, they tend to, if they show up just to do a brief move, it's always a big flashy thing. So you can make that one of their big spells, or one of their, I guess, I'm trying to think what, oh god, I can't remember his name anymore. Chad.
Gideon?
Gideon. What Gideon would do if it would just be show up, punch a man, and run away. He looks like a Chad.
His original incarnation, was a dude bro.
That's true. That's true. Ooh, maybe we could include Travis in this.
Oh, I forgot what was his deal? Travis the
he was the one with all the
Travis the cursed, yeah.
He just shows up, you think, oh, and then everybody has to stop and attack him for a while.
Oh, he would be the oh no, what's the guy from Dan? He would be the Dan.
Oh.
But yeah, and you could have like iconic creatures as assists. Like Mike said earlier, Hurloon Minotaur. How great would it be to hit the assist button and have a Hurloon Minotaur run in and like gore someone?
I get the feeling that any green mage, any one of their like big super moves is just going to be like summon a Baloth,
and it like charges across the screen.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that would be sick. So, hey, Dirk, you've been quiet. What you got? Anything on this? Did Dirk walk away again?
He didn't say anything. Dirk, are you muted?
Yes, I was muted. But I hadn't really thought, I hadn't really added anything to it, but I hadn't really thought about them fighting games or the city building games. So I really didn't have anything.
Well, what's a genre that you had thought of?
I had thought about the civs, as not like Civilization. So what I had thought about was in Civilization, like Civilization 6. I think that's the current one.
That is
5 or 6. But anyway, how you go about it is you start a city, and then you build up the area around it, and you start a new city and everything. So what I had thought was you can either start with a pre-made planeswalker, or you can create your own. And what would happen is that a pre-made one would already have a color identity. And so you would start off on a plane, and the plane would have creatures, guilds, the tribes or whatnot already established on that plane. And what you would need to do is ally yourself with one of them. And then your task would be to essentially to take over or become the dominant tribe there on that plane. And then you could have, once you get so far into the development, then you could potentially planeswalk to another plane. And once you're there, sort of, again, establish yourself with someone there, with the different parties. Pick one that you would pledge your allegiance to, and then harvest resources. And you could essentially transfer resources between the planes so that you could develop more of a dominance on a plane. And part of what you would do is that you could level up within your, like instead of like a tech tree, it would be more like a color pie tech tree. So if you were to choose, say, Chandra, you would do red. You could do the red tree. But if you decided, you could technically take her into another color and build up on that tech tree. But along the tech tree would be things such as your creatures. You could give a creature haste. Or you could give it, reduced mana cost, or you could unlock Phoenix creatures along the way in terms of the tech tree. And each plane would potentially have its own miniature tech tree, or have some sort of special ability in terms of mana, or things like that as you continue to unlock and develop a plane.
So it's like, with the different planes going on, it's kind of like a combination of like Civs and something like Masters of Orion.
Right. And so you could solo one plane and do just great, but by going into other ones, you unlock more creatures that you could, turn into. I'm thinking in my head, the Star Wars Empire at War, where you have resources that you could potentially move between the planes. Mm-hmm. Like creatures and spells that you would be able to create on a specific plane, be able to move them across so that you had access to them on a separate plane, but you could only make them on that plane itself and then move it to another plane. So again, sort of it has to do with development, researching, making it, and then being able to move it across. And what would be neat is that you would have other planeswalkers that are choosing another faction. So where you would be competing is not just trying to make your allegiance the dominant allegiance. You've got other planeswalkers that when they planeswalk to one of the ones that you're on, they could ally with another faction, and now you're having to fight them. Ooh. Or you could have Nicol Bolas as a radical that's sort of out there who just randomly shows up and just drops a bomb on you. He's got an army that he can just sort of drop onto a plane and be like, I take over this plane, and then you have to fight his forces out so that you could reestablish yourself. Occasionally you might have a Phyrexian invasion that just randomly shows up on a plane.
Like you do.
Something that includes.
We've seen it happen plenty of times.
But you're fighting other planeswalkers for dominance so that you have the overarching. But then how you would win is that you would either have to knock out one of the major opponents, or you would need to control X number of planes. And that's not just, you're talking about the planes that we already know of, but potentially some other ones that have been mentioned, but we haven't really learned a lot about, and maybe just some random ones. But that you have the potential not just to, you could, if you stay in one color pie, then you can just ace that one color pie, but there's advantages in going into other colors too. Yeah, in my mind, I'm thinking also like the Final Fantasy tech tree from 10, where you're in Titus's tech tree, but then you can, once you get so far, you can be like, nope, I want to go over into Kamari's tech tree. Something sort of like that with regards to the color pie. So maybe you're playing red, but you're like, I really want my creatures to have flying. But flying is in the blue color pie. So you'd have to sort of work your way up into blue so that you have your red flying creatures now, where you can say, red flying, and then you could also develop, sort of like, again, in the games where you have the big baddie that you can bring to battle, that one you could kind of determine what character traits, the characteristics of the big baddie creature are. Does he have haste? Does he have flying? Does he require fewer resources? that you're harvesting or developing on a plane sort of thing. You know, does he come in at cheaper? Those sort of things come with your tech tree. And you would need the tech tree in order to unlock the bigger creatures also, and that comes with dominating a plane. But that was sort of what I was thinking with a Civ, is that you're not making a new city, you're planeswalking to a new planet to establish dominance there.
That's really cool.
That was my Civ idea.
So would that be a, what are they called, 4X game?
Yeah.
So you could sort of think of it like, well, not sort of like Stellaris.
Yeah, like I think I sent an idea similar to this to Chewy when he first mentioned it to me. Though I didn't even think of the tech tree stuff. Mine was basically just the bare bones of yours, and not even being able to like take over other planes, but more of having to like, this is my home plane. I live here. I have to keep other people from messing with it. But you can set up stuff like the Infinite Consortium to mess with other people's planes, not full on take them over. I like yours a lot better.
Well, no, but that's the thing, is that if you were to stay on one plane, you could develop full dominance and potentially influence other planes. So there can be different play styles. You know, just like in Civ, you can be a 2-city civilization and mop everybody. Or you can be a civilization that's got 20 cities. You know, it depends on your play style.
Oh yeah, no, I just didn't even think of it being a possibility. I just like that more.
Because I mean, that's sort of the thing I liked about Civ, is that you can be different factions, like the German faction in Civ. They don't want that. They actually fight the city states. So there's like random cities that are already established that are city states that are independent, that you can develop an alliance with or influence with, and they become your allies, like a third party ally. His big thing is that he wants to destroy them all. Alexander the Greek, on the Greek faction, his whole job is to not establish a whole lot of cities, but to take in all of these city-states. He gets extra bonus points with the city-states.
And then
so it depends on how you want to play the character. Maybe some planeswalkers are better at sticking to one plane, and maybe that's part of the tech tree. Or in terms of maybe achievements and stuff.
Freaking cool!
You have to stick to one plane, but your one influence radiates out, and you can sort of fight, your one plane.
So yeah.
Or you can go off to all the different planes and establish a foothold, and that sort of goes with our RPG that we've been playing. Is, we go to a place. All right, do you get mana from this location? And by going to other ones, maybe you have access to special mana of a different type, or something of that sort. Or maybe that's how you get your resource points, is you have to have invested in, that mana on that plane. So the more planes, the more mana you have, which means the more spells. But that also means that you're more vulnerable because you're across more planes. So you have to develop ways of protecting them and all that.
And you can
which adds a fun dynamic. If you stick to one plane, you can fortify yourself there, and if anyone walks on your plane, you can just blast them because you've fully entrenched yourself on that plane.
Yeah, but then you're not going anywhere else. Yeah,
different planeswalkers that you would pick as your character would, like you mentioned, the characters in Civ, like Koth would get bonuses for concentrating or spending more time on Mirrodin.
On Mirrodin, yeah.
Whereas, Jace would get more points for not being in Ravnica doing his freaking job.
And then that's not even talking about, developing alliances with other planeswalkers, because there might be, if you develop an alliance with this planeswalker, then maybe you can share resources. Again, that's where the Civ part comes in, is you can establish research alliances, protection alliances where, if you're attacked, then this planeswalker will come to your aid, and he'll, planeswalk to one of your planes, or he has free movement along one of your planes to get to you, and he can bring whatever resources to the battle there.
So, in a space colonization type game, you would have a planet where you're mining for, I don't know, you go to Titan to get methane.
Yeah.
So, another aspect of this is different planes. I think Dirk has mentioned this. Different planes will give you different flavors of resources. So, like, if you need an army of ninjas, you go to Kamigawa and do some stuff there. If you need, I don't know, metal, you go to Mirrodin.
Mirrodin, yeah.
I was just thinking of clicking on a peasant and sending him to go mine ninjas.
Don't come back until you got 12 ninjas. Yeah. Or maybe done. And maybe you could have, like, you know, you could send somebody to Ixalan, or maybe you're tricking your opponent to go into Ixalan, but then they can't leave for a while. And then they're stuck until they've gotten a rare item like the Immortal Sun. And the more people they commit to it, the faster they can do it. But then they aren't able to be elsewhere protecting things.
Because I really do feel like that there's a lot of story elements you could throw in that add, universal effects that can drastically change the game. With that, the Mirari is found, and so if you're on one plane, then all of a sudden all kinds of shenanigans happen on that one plane that could be for
your mana production is through the roof, but there are more monsters that pop up because of the Mirari.
Right, so that means that you're having to commit more resources to that plane in order to secure your holdings and things of that sort. So it does. This is one where, again, it feels like you can incorporate a lot of things to it. And I'm thinking about also the Planeswalker that's you could go and say your base special ability is this. But as you continue to get more planets or more planes, then you can as you move through the tech tree and everything, your Planeswalker gets more powerful, and so they get new special abilities, and there's a branching tech tree that goes with that too, where again, if you're going with Chandra, instead of maybe her base ability is that she deals X damage based on the resources you have, maybe like 2 damage to creatures or something. But as you move through it, it becomes, +3 in addition to the 2, and able to summon a phoenix. Use certain amount of energy to summon a phoenix, or things like that make the Planeswalker themselves more powerful. In addition to being able to recruit creatures and have special spells that they're able to cast.
Oh man, can we talk business for a second?
You what?
Can we talk business for a second? DLC. Dude, you get the Kamigawa pack that gives you access to a whole new plane, Kamigawa, with its own problems. Like, you get new factions, samurai and ninjas, but you also get, the spirits are waging war, so there's all these new scenarios that are just on that plane. And when you get the Kamigawa pack, you also gain access to 5 new Planeswalker start characters and 6 new potential allies. Oh my god. I have never played a game in this genre in my life, and this is freaking awesome.
That's because we're kind of tearing down the genre and building it back up piece by piece.
I mean, a lot of what he's saying is stuff that either already exists in Civ or already exists in
something else that you can put into that. Yeah,
like a lot of your stuff about upgrading the Planeswalker is sort of a combination of like stuff that you do in Stellaris to level up your different leaders and like a hero character from any of the Warcraft games.
Right. So, and again, you could potentially just create your own and say, here's the color pie, pick a color on the pie. You could potentially pick 1, you could pick 2, you could pick all 5. But the more you pick, yes, you get more cool abilities, but it takes you longer to go through to get to some of the more cool abilities, the more useful abilities. So, and that might be a thing, is that maybe you can't go into other color pies unless you've established at the very beginning that you can go into those. I mean, that might be something too, is that, that there is some of that could be decided within regards to the game.
The color pie system really lends itself well to all kinds of things, but this whole diplomacy and allying yourself with things or having enemies and all that, it's all already there. The framework for it is already there in the existence of the color pie.
It also just works really well for a tech tree like this sort of thing.
Yeah! So let's say you're in red. Like you pick red as your starting point, and you can go further in. Like Dirk said, you go further into red with more like fire, or you could lean. Since you're in red, you could head towards green and go like a gruel flavor. Use with your tech tree choices, or lean more towards black. Or if you get far enough in one direction, you can hit your enemy colors and get some access to white and blue and advance your abilities and whatnot that way. That's really cool.
Well, that does actually. You mentioned something that can maybe with regards to the color pie. Again, in Magic, you've got the allied colors, and maybe it's easy to go into an allied color, but an opposing color maybe. With regards to the color pie, you start off in the middle of the pie in terms of the tech tree. It starts off in the middle, and in order to go to an enemy color, you actually have to move in a specific direction in the color to get to an enemy color.
And go through an allied color to get there. So
yeah, with an allied color, it's a shorter path.
Right.
But again, you can stick with just your color, and as you're going through all your different color, you can unlock things like, again, with red, you've got direct damage abilities like fire, lightning bolt and fireball and all those where you could do that, or you could go into being able to speed up the mana in some way, or you've got that the creatures all have haste, or what is another red ability that's out there? Oh, creating elementals that you're able to just create elementals, or you're able to create phoenixes, or you're able to take a creature and fling them.
And if you go far enough,
or they can pandemonium.
If you go far enough into red, you get dragons.
Yeah, that you're able to unlock dragons.
All right. I as much as I love this, I think we've spent a good long while on it. That is awesome, and I would totally play this game. Like I said, I have Civ 6 right now because I forgot to pause my stupid Humble Monthly thing last month. So it's like, you own Civ 6 now. And I'm like, thanks. I will never play Civ 6. But I would play the hell out of this Magic Civilization game.
Cool.
All right, what else has somebody got for the Vidya games?
I've got one I don't think anyone's said yet, and partially because there hasn't been a good one in a long time, a stealth game.
Okay.
What are you talking about? So, Assassin's Creed 7 or whatever was... Okay, you said a good one. I'm sorry. I couldn't...
Yeah, none of them are good stealth games.
Keep that up.
Like what StarCraft Ghost was supposed to be.
Oh. I was going to go more for like one of the early Thief games before they went a little bit loopy as well.
Sure.
Where it would be following like a black and blue mage where you've got... I was ideally thinking of black, so it's like not death magic so much as just the actual darkness magic. So that's how you're hiding yourself is... It would be a lot more story-focused, following, ideally, a new character, because I can't think of any blue-black mages we've got right now that have decent character and aren't just Bolas slaves, sort of.
Yeah.
So following some new character whose entire thing was basically just being Dak Faden, but less Dak Faden.
Less douchey, yeah. The greatest thief of the multiverse!
Yeah, I think the way I described it is being Dak Faden, but not being, like, Han Solo. You don't want to be a thief who... Everyone knows your name ahead of time.
You're on the lam, maybe.
Yeah, but it's like a black magic for using that to sort of like hide yourself, and then blue magic for the, oh god, someone's seen me, quick, wipe their mind, but you can't do it that often. It's just sort of the, to prevent the game from horribly spiraling out of control button.
Right.
But mostly just, I don't know what the story would be, but so that there's something sort of story focused so that we've got an actually good stealth game.
But I like it.
It's so long.
And you could do some really interesting infiltration missions where it's like you want to break into someplace, but you have to do it undetected or as undetected as possible. So
and I would like to see what someone could do with that, because you wouldn't, in a Magic set, you wouldn't have the normal like, oh, well, there's alarms and stuff like that. I would like to see what they would do with a Magic world for what you're having to sneak past.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it going to be weird magic constructs or
magic traps?
Magic traps. Are you going to get screwed up by that one guy who actually doesn't use magic to protect his house?
Mm-hmm.
Just really confused. What? He has locks. I don't know how to deal with a lock.
I like that. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so our first couple of suggestions, well, okay, the first one was just Ravnica, but that one was kind of obvious. But like, so the fighting game suggestion is all Magic. Just all these characters have a giant, 60 character roster. Dirk's thing is brilliant. It goes across all of the different worlds, and you can include them all and make up new ones. We can go to Chandra, it'd be crazy. But another good thing about Magic as an IP is that with all of these worlds are fleshed out enough to where you could just set a game like this in smaller scale within one and have like a Dimir operative, like a guild mage named, I don't know, Harvel or something. And
yeah, just some random guy.
Yeah, just some random new character doing a thing that is not huge and multiplanar and whatever. He's just doing his thing. Like, what is the freaking game? It was a stealth game that was released not long ago that got pretty good. Origami. With an A. Origami, not origami, because that's folding paper. But
not the same thing.
Not the same thing. Something small scale like that, or... I had another stealth game that popped into my head and now it's gone. Oh, like Hitman. Hitman's a stealth game.
Yeah.
But you could, instead of being an assassin, it's just using those... Oh, no, what's the... Dishonored! That's the one! Dishonored totally could be a Magic game.
It definitely... Honestly, you could probably replace most of the stuff he does with Venser and it would work just fine.
Right?
Yeah. Just teach Venser how to use a sword.
So you could
and not be dead.
And not be dead. Whoops, spoilers. So you could do a stealth game set on one plane, or some sort of goofy, like, Broforce style, side-scrolling platformer shooter game. Oh, dude, wouldn't that be sick? Instead of finding bros, you're finding extra planeswalkers. And it's just set on, I don't know, like Ixalan, because everyone got there and got trapped. Boom. And now you're blowing up giant dinosaurs.
Maybe you show up and you're like, you're a little Jack Faden at the beginning, but you're like, hi, I'm going to steal this stuff. And then you realize you can't leave. And then you're like, oh crap. And then everybody's onto you. So your usual stick doesn't work. So you're actually on the run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another one I had thought of, and I think this sums it up really well, was, and I quote, Turok, but with Garruk.
Okay, I've got one that's pretty much that as well, but I think we may have gone different directions with it.
Okay, well, what's yours? And we can kind of compare and contrast.
Okay, in my defense, I came up with this before I streamed Monster Hunter for 8 hours, but I was basically thinking Monster Hunter. That it's like Garruk as... when he was growing up, I actually can't remember the plane he's from, but when he was growing up, lost alone in the woods and basically having to beat up every single angry animal he ran into.
Do we know what plane he's from?
I don't remember if we do.
Okay.
But he was basically orphaned as a kid and grew up in the wilds, having to literally fight off Baloths. So just that's what I'm imagining is just it's a Monster Hunter style game where it's just a little bit more story focused, following Garruk as he slowly becomes powerful enough to punch a Baloth in the face. And then bigger Baloths, and then I can't remember any of the other beasts that we saw him interact with, but there were a lot.
Oh, dude, can we... excuse me, can we talk business?
Yeah.
DLC. Post-Chain Veil, now he's hunting planeswalkers.
Well,
yeah.
There you go.
Someone has to remember that he's still doing that.
That'll be... Yeah, right? That'll be the premium DLC released later. We'll have... Now he's hunting planeswalkers, and oh, dude. Okay, so, but Brian's was more of a Turok dinosaur hunter, first-person
shooter. And I actually had as a genre, because one of the things I did when I was making this was I listed about 12 genres, and then specific examples of games that fell into each, because there's a lot of different ways to do first-person shooters. I've got player versus player, player versus environment, and then team. And this would be player versus environment because, as far as I know, I don't know that many Turks were known for their player versus player mode, but, you go in and you try and fight through the levels and shoot dinosaurs and that sort of stuff. And here, you got Garruk, But one of the interesting things about Garrick is his specialty is not the same as maybe another green mage's. Like he works very differently than Nissa. Nissa is all about elementals and forming bonds with the land. Garrick is much more about creating bonds to creatures so he can summon them later. So as you go along, if you beat up X number of Baloths, maybe you get the ability to summon a Baloth, and that kind of becomes your gun, quote unquote. And then after a couple charges, ammo, quote unquote, you can't do that anymore. So you have to conserve what you summon.
So Far Cry Primal.
Yeah. Never played Far Cry, but
well, it's entirely different from Far Cry because it's still a first-person shooter, but with no guns. It's cavemen who use sticks and spears and axes, but they can summon basically spirit animals.
Okay,
yeah, that's what they have instead of guns.
There you go. And like Chewy said, with DLC, you know, or you can unlock quests where at that point you are Veil Cursed and you gain access to black mana. So changes your abilities, changes what you actually hunt.
Yeah, look like all new abilities, and now you're hunting smaller, more powerful prey. Oh, dude, yeah, the DLC pack writes itself.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, hey, Mike, I know you didn't have time to actually sit down and like think of any of this stuff, but like, have you got any ideas just from all of this?
Has anything germinated?
Nonsense?
Yeah.
Not for anything new. I think just what we've been talking about has made me think back about certain mechanics that some games in the genres you mentioned use, and most of those have been mentioned already.
Okay, well, I don't want to put you on the spot and make you feel dumb.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything.
Well, I have another idea.
Okay.
This would be and this is actually heavily based on Ixalan. Because, so, what happened at the beginning of Ixalan? Essentially, Jace wakes up and goes, where am I? Who am I? What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And the first thing that popped into my head, and I really hate myself for this, was a first-person, well, maybe not first-person, but a survival game. Crafting systems. And the one that popped into my head the most was Ark.
Maybe Ark meets Minecraft, because he's got to punch some trees, right?
I mean, that's sort of a thing in Ark, too.
Yeah, Minecraft is like the granddaddy of all of these these style games, but Ark specifically has dinosaurs and whatnot walking around, which is why that one popped into my head. But in this game, you create a character, and then you just wake up on a beach with this weird gem thing in your hand, and you're like, what? And you're walking around gathering up resources and building a house and training dinosaurs and trying not to die from all the other douchebags that are on this server who have been here with hundreds of hours in their character, and they'll just run up and kill you and laugh. But maybe not that part of the game.
I'm okay with not that part.
Yeah, more like instead of a big multiplayer thing like Ark, more like the Ark environment, but like a Subnautica single player thing.
Okay. Okay.
Or like when you first started saying that, I thought you were going to bring up something like a single player RPG with a setting like that, like Planescape Torment or something.
Possible. Well, that's a whole different ball game, but yes, also that. But okay, so for those who don't know, Ark, what's it called? Ark
Survival Evolved.
Ark Survival Evolved. Yeah. I don't know if there's any story in that game because the only times I've ever seen it are YouTubers that are in a group. They're like, "Hey, I've installed a mod pack that has dragons. Let's go tame a dragon," and then they all die with lots of swearing. So, but like Subnautica is a game where, and feel free to jump in at any point here, Cap, because you've actually played it, whereas I've just watched other people play it.
Do you want me to just explain it then?
Well, Subnautica is a game where you are on a spaceship, and at the very beginning of the game, you're in an escape pod because the spaceship is crashing, and you're in a life pod, and then you wake up on this world, and that's it. Over the course of the game, like, story elements come in. But the whole point is, don't die.
Yep. Also, everything wants to eat you because you are delicious.
Muy delicioso.
I mean, everyone knows I'm delicious, though. So, oh, you meant the character, right?
Yeah.
But you could be a planeswalker, or you could even be Jace. Who knows? Who just wakes. Actually, you could turn the story of Ixalan totally into the survival game with some tweaks. So you're a guy who wakes up on a plane. You don't know who you are or what's going on. You have to not die. So
can we do Angrath instead?
Sure. So you wander around and collect resources and, find things to eat and drink and don't die and that sort of thing, and craft items and houses and structures and things like that. And slowly, through some means, a story will slowly develop. Like in Subnautica, you get transmissions from other life pods, and that gives you places to go, and you go there, and then you get more story from essentially they're like discarded tablets that you pick up and read that have log entries and whatnot. So you slowly put together what's going on, and then you find things on this plane. Like, let's say you wander into where the merfolk hang out, and, you learn things there, and just things like that. Ixalan itself is just perfect for that flavor of game, because you can't leave, and in Jace's case, you have no idea who you are or what's going on.
I'm just thinking Angrath, mostly because it gives you an endpoint for become a literal pirate king.
And there could be any number of endpoints in a game like this, depending on how you play it. Like, you could just be the weirdo out in the woods who just builds a replica of the Starship Enterprise.
Yeah.
Or you could get in good with one of the 4 factions. How many factions are there?
4.
Yeah. Get in good with one of the 4 factions and work your way up, or not, or whatever, or find out about the Immortal Sun and try to get it and escape. Like, there's any number of ways that you could play it, all based on your choices in the game.
Yeah.
Angrath the River Herald would be pretty funny.
That would be pretty funny. So yeah, that was just an idea I had. And you could do that. It doesn't necessarily have to be Ixalan. It's just the whole wake up and not know who you are and what's going on is how a bunch of these games start.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in Ixalan. So of course that's where my brain went.
Well, and I think that amnesia is a very popular trope in a lot of video games, especially story-based video games, because it allows you to give this character that has a backstory and all of this motivation that you as the player are not immediately aware of. For example, Cloud in Final Fantasy VII, you start playing him at the beginning of the game, and it seems like he's got things under control, but spoiler alert, just a little ways into the first disc, you start realizing that his memories don't make sense. And then, that's something that's repeated in a lot of RPGs. I mean, a lot. Raise your hand for every time you can think of an amnesiac who happens to have untold power that they weren't aware that they had. They could destroy the world, or are they a good guy or bad guy, or So,
extra points if they're also a silent protagonist.
Ooh, yes, because then you can imprint upon them. Although an amnesiac that also doesn't say anything may be a bit of overkill.
I can still think of at least a couple of characters who never actually say anything but are considered to be amnesiacs for some reason.
And just about RPGs in general, I might strike some people as odd that we haven't mentioned that, because I'm pretty sure everybody here loves RPGs. I was kind of staying away from it just because I feel like it's almost too obvious. You can take it in a couple different directions. There's, traditional Final Fantasy, turn-based, or active battle system, or something more like Tactics Ogre, where it's army on army type goodness.
I mean, that one already existed.
Yeah, right. That was, what was that called?
Magic the Gathering Tactics.
Yes. So.
Oh my god, I forgot that game ever existed.
So did I.
Wow.
But so, if people want to talk about role-playing games, we can, but I was kind of more invested in some of the more offbeat, one of my subcategories was sports games, and then subcategories of that are kart racing, golf, soccer, American football. It sounds silly, and it is, thinking about building a soccer team with, with Jace on one side and Nicol Bolas on the other side. It's kind of funny.
feel like if you're gonna do
like
that, it would have to be something more like Pyre, where it's where it's a very clearly magic based sport.
Well, I was thinking of like a Mega Man soccer type thing.
Yeah,
where,
like all of the Nintendo, like Mario whatever games, Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, Mario. Yeah.
But the one that really drew me was the kart racing, because I'm like, okay, every player, every character can have unique abilities, but also now we've got vehicles, so you could like maybe you want to put Garrick or I just talked about Garrick, but maybe you want to put Tybalt in an airship versus or in like a Thopter squad or like a Conqueror's Galleon or something like that. So, you know, different ways of switching out characters, customizing your vehicles, things like that. And having, I tend to gravitate towards some of the more fun, silly stuff. So,
dude, and you could like, as you level your character in some way, winning races or whatever, you can get more and more spells, like powering up your turtle shell equivalent or something into a spiny shell.
I'm just imagining one of the pickups, because there's that awful blooper in modern Mario Karts.
Yeah,
where it's just that's actually just
the ink.
Yeah, that's just actually in this game convince Jace to blank their mind for a second there.
Liliana can summon zombies to jump up on your cart and slow you down.
Yeah.
That would be the version of the lightning bolt, I think.
Yeah.
Nissa can create some vines that slow everybody else down for a little bit.
Oh, I get it. So, like, each character would totally have the same abilities?
Well,
like, one that would knock you out, like the green shell, one that's original. And it would be themed around that character's powers.
I mean, you could do that because that's probably more balanced than, you know, oh, this character here is just a hard counter to mine because I don't have any way of, you know, they just blow me up all the time. It's probably more fair to give everyone similar abilities.
So you could do it either as like kart racing, or there was a game series that was basically just about driving horrible death machine cars.
Oh, I picture
Twisted Metal. Yeah, so you can also do it as Twisted Metal, where everyone's got like their specific thing that they do.
Twisted Metal magic.
Getting to the it's less about everyone getting to the end and one specific person being the only one who sees the end.
Yeah.
Oh, and you could there we go. And instead of having different characters, you can have different vehicles. So you can have like the Weather Light and the Predator.
Nice.
And things like that. The Heart of Kieran.
Giaper's Hope. But are we going to have to ban what was it? The cheap one that was too good.
Smuggler's Copter, yes.
Smuggler's Copter.
Yes.
That one actually just flies above the field, ignoring everyone else who's trying to fight.
That could be one of the bosses near the end.
Oh, that'd be so annoying. You're just going along and you're like, where is it? And it's like, you know, round over, and you're like, what? I've just started. Oh, that's cool.
I like the idea of like happy fun kart racing or, you know, crazy murder vehicles. These are both good.
There you go. Another game, while we're in sports, that this is going to sound silly, but I think one of the first indications I ever had about myself as a gamer and what I look for in games was actually an early computer golf simulator. I mean, I'm not that into golf, but the best part of this game for me and my brother was that you could build your own golf courses. So we would make these terrible, horrible, awful golf courses and just challenge each other to play them. And you've got this like 50-foot wall in front of you when you start, and you're like, good luck, you know, or you put the hole in the middle of a lake surrounded by mountains and that sort of stuff. And I think this was really the game that taught me I love games where you have level creation. I love individual content creation. It's my jam. But so I'm looking a little too fondly on golf simulators in general because I'm linking that one experience to that. But I do think, you know, Mario Golf was fairly popular for a while and a fairly fun game. So there's some room for that sort of thing there too. But again, you can apply that to all sorts of sports. I'm thinking like Magic Madden.
I mean, that's basically just Blood Bowl.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Blood Bowl, for those that don't know, is essentially a turn-based strategy game set in, what is that, Warhammer?
Warhammer Fantasy, yeah.
The Warhammer Fantasy universe, but instead of, strategy and warfare, it's football. Sort of. Basically football.
Sort of.
And that's... Yeah, so it's still heavy on strategy and, turn-based, maximizing your efficiency in what your characters are doing, but instead of trying to, take over an objective or kill all the bad guys, it's a football game. And I've watched a lot of these games. I have watched Cap play, oddly enough, and yeah, it's brilliant. And you could totally do that with Magic characters, but then it'd just be a reskin of Blood Bowl.
I mean,
which I'm fine with. Yeah.
I'm okay with that because Blood Bowl has some significant issues that I think Magic could fix.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other game that had to come up with a god of bad luck.
So what other sort of flip? So Mike, you brought up Planescape Torment.
Right.
I've actually never played Planescape Torment. I only know it by reputation. How would that work in Magic?
Really, like I said, it's a single player RPG. It's a Dungeons and Dragons based game, and it has a Dungeons and Dragons based system underlying how everything works. But that's one of the ones where, if I'm remembering the correct game right now, that's another one of those ones where you wake up in a completely bizarre place. You don't know anything about your character. And part of what you have to do as you play is figure out who you are and where you came from and how to get out of this bizarre place that you found yourself in. And it would have the same self-discovery and self-building things that you all were talking about earlier.
So
when you had brought up the survival thing.
Yeah. What about survival horror, a la Resident Evil 7 or on N64 the Sanity thing,
Eternal Darkness.
Eternal Darkness, yeah.
Except on Innistrad, of course.
On Innistrad, of course. Maybe similar to what we're talking about with the Ark game. Maybe you wake up and you're in Markov Manor, and all of the vampires there are stone, and it's really creepy. And you're wandering around, you're like, "What is going on? Where am I? I have no idea." And then you start to wander out, and you're being attacked by werewolves and zombies and this and that and the other, and it's just And you can either go the sanity type stuff where maybe somebody is messing with your mind from Eternal Darkness, or more of the holy crap, shit your pants. Time.
Wasn't me.
Hang on.
Or it could be the oops, jump scare, oh shoot, I need to go change my pants kind of Resident Evil 7 or something similar.
Yeah, or you could have okay, wait a minute, let's see here. You could have somebody be like, okay, you're gonna hate me for this. You could have someone go, you were almost an Avacyn sandwich.
I do hate you for that, yes.
Resident Evil 1. What a mess. Yeah, and that's another example of having a smaller, self-contained story that's just set on one of the planes.
Right.
Which is, again, Magic's brilliance, is that it's all these worlds.
And they're fleshed out
that
characters.
Are so fleshed out that you could just do that.
Yeah. Another genre that I think would fit well into the more self-contained would be a Metroidvania type game.
Ooh, yeah.
For those that aren't familiar with the term, it's probably more specific to Metroid. It's only recently that Castlevania has picked up.
Recently as in the last 20 years.
Yeah,
in the past 5 years, Castlevania has been trying to get away from it.
Castlevania's roots have started somewhere else, then adapted, and now, like Cap said, they're trying to get into a different area. But basically where you've got a particular world, and you have access to some of it, and as you progress through these areas, you unlock abilities that allow you to go into more parts of that same world. So you're essentially building the map as you go along, opening more and more routes and doing some backtracking, I'm sure. But the point is that you're kind of taking the one environment and expanding it, 100-fold as you play the game. And it can feel really rewarding to do that. There's a great sense of accomplishment. Think about like in Metroid where you get the freeze right and you're like, oh, dude, I remember this one pit that I couldn't jump across, but now I can freeze the guy and I can make it. And you have that, everything kind of clicks, and there's also that sense of exploration with that. So this lends itself better to a single setting than an overarching like sandbox, like all the planes in the universe type thing, because you're working in one specific area. And I think for Metroidvania, you really can go almost anywhere. But the thought that really comes to me is Zendikar, because especially, you've got some of these continents there have all these ancient ruins. You have explorers going in there. The land itself, it turns against people. Booby traps. I mean, the whole idea behind original Zendikar was the Indiana Jones feel for things, great treasures and great risks and rewards. And, maybe as you're progressing through through an area, you're going through the ruins and you find new chambers that have new treasures that allow you to get new abilities and go further. Very, very a la Metroid. And you might start...
Like you start in a wooded area, so you hit somewhere where you learn some sort of green magic spell.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you progress further along, you find like a mountain. Like, well, you can't actually go this way yet. So you go, well, crap. So you turn and go a different direction where you hit like a coastline and there's an island. And then you get some sort of flight ability. So you can fly up the mountain. When you get up the mountain, you get some red mana and you learn some sort of red ability that opens up the plains area or something like that. Just to try to work like the magic flavor into it.
Right. And along the way, you fight thematically appropriate enemies in each area. So there's ways to integrate the creatures. And you could tie it in so they actually look like their card
art
examples. Yeah, I'm not sure. There was a word I was going for, and I'm sorry. Their card equivalent, I think. So you're like, hey, that looks like so-and-so, and turns out it is, and it's pretty cool. And then once you have enough, you unlock the final area or areas, and the skills kind of build on each other, and you learn to combine them in ways that make you stronger. And there's again, so you can tie in all of this stuff from Magic's history, the colors of Magic, and I think that could be pretty cool.
Well, what Brian was talking about reminded me of a game that, as soon as I say it, if you played any of them, you'll go, yes, that would probably be cool. Lego games.
Yeah. Oh God, there's a whole series of Lego games in Magic.
Right now,
like the number of Lego games that currently exist. Mm-hmm. That many just with Magic.
Yeah.
Because the old Star Wars one is that you would go to a hub and you would go through a door and it would take you to a mission. Well, you could do something similar, except that it's a portal and the portal sends you to a plane. But all the Lego games, essentially, once you get through the story mode, you essentially have this area where, like, my son has been playing the Marvel superheroes, the first one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole city is a giant sandbox where you can go and do all kinds of crazy stuff in the environment. And that could be it for each one of the worlds. Maybe there's 10 worlds on the base one, and in each world it's sort of a sandbox, and there's little missions you can do on each world. And then you just, maybe there's a 5-story on a world, but then you unlock the next world, you go to it, do the 5 stories, but then that plane is unlocked. You can go and do stuff there.
Thinking about an equivalent for Magic, Sam and Carrie and I are currently playing through the complete collection on the PlayStation of the Lego Harry Potter games. And we just finished year 1, and you can go back and, as you unlock characters, replay missions with characters that weren't originally available. So you could, for example, if you've unlocked Neville, maybe go back and do some early mission with Neville or something like that. And I could see doing that with, okay, you start out the game and you're in this area and you're Chandra, and then maybe along the line somewhere you unlock the ability to beat Liliana, and then you can go back and play that area as Liliana, and then
because each one of the colors has a special ability, and you would as you go, you would unlock creatures that also have additional abilities. So like the fire ones, they could push out a flame of fire that allows them to melt a wall or something, and then additionally another maybe like a I just always thinking like, okay, a dragon would allow you to fly over a special barrier, but you would need a green creature in order to pick up a block.
Yeah.
Or to speak to the trees so that they open a path or something like that.
And something that I love about the games, the Lego games, just in general, the ones that I've played, and I haven't played all of them, but some ones that I've played, they are very friendly games. You can die as many times as you want. The emphasis with these games is not, they're super difficult. Kids these days would use the term Dark Souls, and I'm not going to. But they're not. The game is not meant to be an obstacle. It's more of a puzzle, and you take your time, and you're like, okay, this isn't working. What do I need to do to actually get past this puzzle or this opponent? And I like that because I think it's important that different games work differently, and not every game has to be super competitive, super difficult. And I think one of the things we've been talking about is there are all these different game mediums, and I love that Lego has a different feel than a lot of them. So a Lego Magic game, really cool. And hey, Chewy, if we want to talk business, DLC.
But another great thing about the Lego games is that there are like hundreds of freaking characters.
Yeah.
So you could have planeswalkers, legendary creatures, like iconic creatures.
Gristlebrand.
You could have
Gerard from the Weatherlight.
Yeah. You could have
walks in. I'm pretty sure you could have like a Squire.
Yeah, you could have like a raging goblin whose thing is he runs real fast, and that's just what he does. And like, because each character in these Lego games, for the most part, has like one ability that they do.
Yeah.
Like Dirk was saying, you get one of the big green elementals that can lift heavy blocks or something like that.
Yeah.
And it just ties itself in brilliantly.
Yeah.
Wizards, come on, man. Get on some of this. These are good ideas.
Yeah.
They're trying, man. They got to start small.
Yeah.
No, they don't. They just license out the game to like some indie company. Okay. Here's a really quick one. There's a game that I currently have installed called Reigns, Reigns.
Okay.
In this game, you are a king. The whole game revolves around people come to you with, hey, this is happening. Do you want to do this or this? And you pick one, and then consequences happen. That's the whole game. You either press left or right. The whole game. Right?
Right.
You could... and
left.
I hate you. And... like, you try to balance... Oh, hang on, I'm gonna cough. You try to balance... So there's a little meter that has 4 things. It's a cross representing religion, a sword representing military, like a little dude representing your population, and a $sign representing money. You could totally switch that up to where instead of as a king trying to balance those 4 things, you're the representative of something in one color of magic trying to balance all 4. And so like the Pope will come to you and be like, hey, I think we should do this. And if you say yes, then the religion meter will go up, but then like the money meter will go down. And if you say no, then the population meter will go up and the religion meter will go down and stuff like that. And it's just, that's all it is. And sometimes, one gets too low, and like if the population gets too high or too low, then they will rise up and kill you. And so someone else takes over as king, and you just you keep going. But it's a very simple game. Like you said, it's just left to right and then decisions and consequences. And you could hire like an indie company that does that sort of game to do something like that, and it'll be out in like 6 months, like if that.
This reminds me of a genre I put down here as I wasn't sure what to call it. I'm sure it has a name, but I said storyboard game. I think another one might be a light graphic novel or something like that.
Visual novel.
Visual novel, and I wrote down
without the anime boobs.
But without, as examples, I wrote down Doki Doki Literature Club and Phoenix Wright, where
those are very different games.
True, but we're talking about games where, for the most part, you're following the story and you're making decisions. You're not moving a character across a field. You're not punching anybody. You are given decisions to make, and then based on those decisions, that's how the story progresses. So
sorry, I was going to say there's another one similar to that I don't have a good way to do this, but like a Telltale story game, Telltale style game.
Right.
Telltale does the heavily story based. They've got Walking Dead, they've got Fable, they've got Tales from the Borderlands.
The Jurassic Park one, Everyone's Forgotten.
Yeah, the Jurassic Park one. There's a Back to the Future one. But current ones, they've got, like, there's a Game of Thrones one that they do. It's very cinematic and story-based.
Right.
And the character-driven.
Yeah. So here we focus on the characters and the decision tree and whether what alignment you want to go with, maybe based also on colors of Magic as well. Not about combat necessarily, but more about how do you influence things around you? And especially with some of the planeswalkers that have a great deal of influence, I think this would be very well suited to Nicol Bolas, to Ugin, to these ones that are the real movers and shakers, because this lends itself toward you're controlling other people. You could also go the other way with it and have it start out with someone like Jace, who has a much more limited sphere of control, but based on decisions you make, okay, maybe you do become the Guild Pact. If you become the Guild Pact, all of a sudden that opens up a lot of other things and a lot of other responsibilities,
which you will ignore.
So, if you're getting into character, yes, but if you want to be a good Jace, then
there's
maybe
no such thing as that.
Then maybe he's been better lately. They've done a much better job with his character.
He has. I will give them that.
Yeah.
Jesus. What
another genre I had here was I just put down Mega Man games. And you could probably fall it under platformers, but I'm thinking specifically of games where you go around, you beat up bosses, and you get their abilities, because that's the Mega Man thing. So you go around and maybe you start out as a red mage and you go beat up this I almost said a bad thing, but you go around and you beat up a blue mage. Let's go with that. And
Brian, were you about to say you go beat up a black guy? Because that's awful, Brian.
No, you did. But you go find this blue mage and you beat them up, or you friend them, and maybe you get one ability if you're able to recruit them. You get a different ability if you beat them up, and then you use that ability on and on, and you have different stages. Or you could fold that almost into the Metroidvania again, where we talked about that. But thinking specifically of Mega Man games, maybe you've got a Chandra stage and a Liliana stage and a Garruk stage. And Garruk is going to be weak against the Liliana ability, but not the Chandra ability, So, and different environments and that sort of stuff.
Nice. Or
I just want to go
each stage is a different plane instead of a different, just like area of the world.
Yeah.
I still really like the idea of Broforce. Like, now that you mentioned Mega Man, like, just Broforce but Magic. Like, the way Broforce works is they're all parodies of action heroes, like all the characters. And so and each one has a different weapon and a different flavor of grenade and a different special move, and that's it. Other than that, you all, jump and run around. But when you find another bro and you rescue them, you become that bro. And it would be really cool to just run around as Chandra blowing stuff up, and then you find Jace, and now you're a little pixelated dude who, like, points at someone and their head explodes, or you point at someone and they turn around and now you have control of them and they shoot their buddy, and then and then you find another one and it's Gideon, and Gideon just charges into people and thrashes them with his whatever that whippy thing. What's that called again, Mike?
Searle.
Thank you. Oh. And it's really cartoony and stupid and over the top, like because that's what Broforce is. But it would still be like sticking to brand. I think that would be really neat.
Yeah.
Another one Brian mentioned in the email was tower defense.
Yep.
I just don't know how to do that one.
What? Okay, so tower defense games don't necessarily have to be towers. So,
no.
Like, I'm thinking...
I mean, isn't Plants vs. Zombie technically tower
sort
defense?
Totally.
I actually just thought of a really good one. Have any of you heard of Sanctum?
Yes.
No.
So it is sort of a tower defense game in that you can assemble towers and you have to also build the maze that the enemies are going to move through. But you are like a player who has weapons. So you can affect it as well as whatever towers you build up.
Also, Orcs Must Die is another...
Orcs Must Die, yeah, that's another good one too.
Yeah.
Where it's... You are a planeswalker who's making this maze that for whatever reason people have to go through, and then you don't just sit back as they're going through it and hoping your magical defenses work. You can actually take part in it.
Yeah, and each different character would have different traps and creatures to set up or minions or whatever. But I was thinking, there's a game called, what's it called? Kingdom something? Hang on. Wait, hang on, I'm looking. HJK Kingdom Rush, where you don't only have towers, you also can drop like little clumps of not characters, but like soldiers or archers or whatever to shoot at the bad guys that are walking along a path. And you could totally do that depending on the plane you're on and like the color of the character that you're playing as. Like you could say you're a white mage on Kaladesh. You can set up like warships to shoot down the flying enemies and have little soldiers down here that have spears or something, whatever. But like a tower defense game is totally doable as long as you're not focusing on, like the last tower defense game I played was Defense Grid, where you're literally building towers that shoot. That wouldn't so much work for match.
Probably not.
So are there any genres of game that we haven't touched on?
We've hit all the ones on my list. I mentioned first-person shooter as far as PvE. I thought something cool might be like a Doom-type clone, but,
I would... there was a game recently that I was actually using as inspiration for if you were to do a Magic one called Battle Mage, where the entire thing is basically it's a first-person shooter where all you have is magic, but you can craft together spells from a series of different spells and try and make it into something unique that works for whatever playstyle you want to use.
Lichdom Battle Mage?
Yeah. Yes, but Battle Mage was the title they should have gone with, because it's not dumb.
Well, I mean, that was for the listeners who were like, what? All of these that we've talked about, by the way, for the most part, are on Steam. So if you have a Steam account, you can just type them in and see what the hell we're talking about, by the way.
My other thing with first-person shooter was Overwatch. And,
like a hero shooter?
Yeah, where you've got all the heroes, and they all have different abilities. Like Gideon would be a tank.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
He would just walk up and he would just, beat someone. Whereas Chandra would be more of a support character. As Johnny, he would be one that doesn't, he would probably be one who could jump really high and, maybe give buffs to people.
I was going to say, I can see him, like, buffing people.
And then, certain ones are able to go back and heal and, just random stuff of that sort. Just sort of to go along with maybe what their planeswalker abilities are. Something similar to that. So they've got their two little abilities, but then, when they get in there long enough, they can actually use their limit break. And their limit break could be just something, crazy, like a Johnny could summon a whole bunch of soldiers or something, or Chandra's is that a giant phoenix runs through and does AoE damage to a cone in front of her, sort of thing, or
Yeah,
just something crazy like that.
The cool thing about Magic's Planeswalkers is that they lend themselves so well to Blizzard games.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Well, we play enough that we know a lot of what their mechanics are, and Blizzard games cross a lot of genres.
Yeah, like MOBAs, the hero shooter, that sort of thing. Yeah, Planeswalkers would just drop right into that, almost one for one. Like Liliana could easily be like half Arthas, thinking Heroes of the Storm, like half Arthas and half Jaina, maybe. Long range damage, and then army of zombies, go get them. And you could work variations of that work better in a first person shooter style game into Overwatch, and it's perfect because the characters are all so well fleshed out and have so many different abilities that are different from each other because the characters are all well designed. Oh yeah.
And if you're gonna do the Heroes of the Storm, just how again you can go, and depending on what choices you make when your character levels up in a match, you could either go, Liliana summons an army of zombies, or she drains the area, like the characters or enemies around her. She's able to absorb their life. That is one of those two will be her limit break.
Yep.
So you have the option of going one way or the other in terms of, what ability she will have. Like, where do you put all your points in? Like you said, random stuff like that. I had a side scroller and I thought Metroid, but I think it really lent more towards between Metroid and Symphony of the Night, where you pick a character, you go through a plane, and each character would maybe have their own plane, and as you go, you get artifacts that helps them get better, that gives them more abilities to essentially have some sort of opponent that they're supposed to beat at the end of the map, sort of thing. And they've got little mini bosses that they have to beat along the way.
I get the feeling Dirk either zoned out or walked away earlier when we were doing the
I had to walk away because my son came and said, "Daddy, can you put me to bed?" It's like, yes, I'll put you to bed. So that was part of the whole, BRB. Let's see. I had RPG, but I really don't want to go into RPG because I feel like that one can easily be. We could spend all night on that.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, obviously you could do RPG, but the other genres are much more interesting, and I feel like that no one has really thought about doing them so much.
Right.
Oh, dude, what about a Guns of Icarus style game where, like, not the original. I'm thinking more of the new. What's it? Guns of Icarus Alliance, where it's PvE, and you're the Weatherlight, flying through different planes. You're like, it's 4 or 5 of us on the Weatherlight, each one with a different job. We're different of the Weatherlight crew, and we're flying around from place to place, or from plane to plane, doing the things the Weatherlight did. That would be cool. Guns of Icarus, you're on a warship, and there are 4 of you. There's someone piloting the captain. There's just gunners who are actually on the guns firing. It's a first-person game. And then there's engineer who's running around repairing things. But everyone can do all the things. But you tend to, assign someone to do this and this and this, and you can rotate as necessary. But so you're actually just on the ship. The person driving is driving, and you're just on a gun. And you're like, all right, if you go more left, I can shoot him. More left. Left. Captain, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm dodging. Shut up. You want to come be captain? I do. And then you all yell at each other, and then you unfriend each other on Facebook because the captain's
Why haven't we played this game?
I don't know why we haven't played this game, because we're bad at it. I've got 4 copies.
I know, you gave me one. No, you didn't. I have 4 copies too to give away.
Bad at this game.
But, oh my god. Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator Magic Edition.
Yep.
Who needs dinosaurs and Roman knights when you can have Kaladeshi inventions and Kamigawa spirits? You set them all up and just tell them to fight. What about like a God of War type game. It would be Gideon, right? You just be Gideon, just beating stuff up.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even have to be Gideon. You could go to some sort of like legendary creature on some plane, and it would just be, again, the smaller scale thing of just a story self-contained here.
What's his name? Helm Smasher. What's his first name?
Oh,
Zergo. Just the story of how he became the Helm Smasher.
Nice. DLC. You could have it the alternate timeline where he's
alternate history. Yeah,
the alternate history where the entire DLC is just I ring the bell. That's a free DLC.
Yeah.
Well, no. See, the current timeline is he's the ring the bell guy. The DLC is the God of War. So you buy the game. You buy the game
simulator. Okay.
You buy the game and you're like, okay, this is not so great. And then they're like, oh, by the way, the DLC is the game you actually want to buy. You know.
That's still even more so. Has to be free DLC then.
Yeah, who do you think this is? EA?
Oh,
I'm hoping not.
Now I'm sad.
Have we said what we want to say about this? I mean, there was one more on my list: Grand Theft Auto, but Magic. Okay, have we said what we want to say? Have we said all that we want to say about this?
I don't know. You guys have anything else?
I think we've run through all mine.
No, okay. Mike, did you ever come up with anything else?
No, it's been good just to listen to this.
Fair enough. Oh, I got it. A point-and-click adventure in the vein of like something cartoony, like Sam and Max or Strong Bad's Cool Game for Attractive People.
Oh, so not these psycho murderer ones.
Well, maybe some of those too, like
Space Quest, King's Quest.
What? Oh, yeah, well, that too. Those are already kind of fantasy enough to where, too easy. But I'm thinking like the really cartoony ones, but instead of like Sam and Max or Strong Bad and Homestar Runner, you're oh no, it fell off. You're Chandra and who was Chandra hanging out with? Was it Nissa in
Nissa,
yeah.
Just running around getting into trouble in the city.
I can see in my head the like LucasArts Chandra sprite looking directly at the screen and talking to me.
And smirking at you. And Liliana would show up and like whisper bad advice and sneak off again.
Yeah, we never did any sort of click and point adventure games. You know, like old school ones.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That would totally be.
Oh yeah, okay.
Chandra and Nissa getting into trouble in the city. What city was that? That was Kaladesh, right? Yeah. Just getting into trouble in Kaladesh and having to like, if you use the mana crystal on the whatever, then you can create a thing to get out of the I don't know,
whatever awful situation.
Whatever awful situation they're in.
Well, like my mind had gone. My mind had gone to like detective games, sort of like with the point and click. You know, like the trying to think of like there was some old
Nancy Drew.
Yeah, like games like that. You know, potentially have to do where you're in a situation, you have to decide, okay, do you do this? Do you do this? You know, work your way through in order to find clues to some sort of mystery that's
like Deja Vu.
Yeah.
Back in the day on the Nintendo and I guess it was technically a Mac game first. Yeah. Oh, dude, you could bring back Jason Noir.
I was just going to say set it on Innistrad when he's pretending to be a detective.
I mean, it solved me a mystery.
Then pull a Deus Ex Machina out of nowhere.
Well, yeah, that's the definition, right?
Yeah. It was just particularly out of nowhere.
Oh, and you could do some sort of weird first-person puzzle game, thinking of something along the lines of, oh god, what's it called? Hang on, my brain just completely shut down. The Talos Principle, or what's the one by the guy?
Portal?
Like Mist or something?
What sort of? It's more recent than that, but it's sort of like that. Yeah. What Portal? Talos Principle. It was the Visit, not the Visitor, the Witness.
Oh,
Just, some sort of first-person puzzle game. My brain is on Kaladesh now, where you're trying to like engineer things.
better example of that than Vanishing of Ethan Carter.
I actually know nothing about that game other than it's apparently better than you'd think.
Yeah, it's basically a very good story-based first-person puzzler.
Oh, okay.
With way too much detail put in.
But like The Witness and the Talos Principle are all first-person puzzle games where the puzzles are essentially the same thing. Like on The Witness, it's... I don't actually know how to describe it, but on Talos Principle, it involves lots of mirrors and lasers. And it's just various... It's sort of like on Portal. It's a first-person puzzle game involving portals and platforms and switches, you know. It's just variations on a theme, but you could come up with some sort of theme that would work set in Kaladesh or on Mirrodin or some sort of place like that and just go. Because, as we keep saying, Magic has so many different locales that are all fleshed out so well. You could slap these, as long as you do it right, on anything and it'll just work.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. I mean, they did it with freaking Magic Puzzle Quest, for God's sake. It was just Puzzle Quest that was Magic flavored. Like they've shown that this is a thing that they can do. Anybody remember Magic Battlegrounds on the Xbox? Of course you don't, because it was lame. But it was so cool to have a chroma. And then she would summon up I don't remember the sort of things that she could summon back then, but...
Stuff!
Yeah, summon some white creature to go attack... I forget who the other characters were, because this was pre-Planeswalker, so it was just...
Something not white.
Yeah, it was just other legendary creatures. But still, it was really neat at the time. It wasn't good, but it was neat. All right, are we good? You think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a good idea, Brian. I enjoyed the hell out of this.
Well, thank you. I'm glad everybody enjoyed it.
So, how about some final thoughts then? Hey, guest buddy, you wanna go first?
Sure. I don't actually have any final thoughts, sadly.
Oh, well, where can people locate you then?
Oh, well, that's much easier. You can find everything my wife and I do at lairoflore.com. Mostly that means streaming, so you can find us at twitch.tv/lairoflore. We're no longer streaming every single day, always. Well, we're not supposed to, but we keep doing it anyway. But we stream almost every day, except for Tuesdays and probably Sundays. Unless we're doing something with Chewy.
Yay. I stream on Tuesdays.
Yeah, which is why we don't stream on Tuesdays.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, they play all kinds of stuff. Whether
many things.
Like just in the last week or so, Cap has played Monster Hunter World and Dauntless, which is sort of Monster Hunter-ish.
Ish, yeah.
And,
so just in the past week, I played the Metal Gear Survive beta. It wasn't good.
No.
I played a little bit of PlayerUnknown's Battleground. I think I've played Civ 6 at least once. Played Stellaris once or twice. Played Subnautica once. I'm forgetting at least something. My wife Haley has played... Oh god, what's her current game? It's gone. I don't remember. My Time in Portia.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is sort of a Minecrafty build up a city sort of thing. And then we also just stream multiplayer games with Chewy, so Killing Floor 2, Overwatch, lots of silly stuff.
Yeah, Haley plays the Nancy Drew game sometimes. The Stardew Valley has been a thing a lot. Slime Rancher is the thing the cat put way too many hours into.
I did a 9-hour stream once.
See?
Just Slime Rancher. I don't remember that day.
So yeah, Cap and Haley play all kinds of things, and they're both sweethearts. And yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
He's on Twitter, too, at Lair of Lore, since Cap is bad at all of these things.
And I guess technically Facebook, but Twitter's probably better.
Also Patreon.
Also Patreon.
You guys gonna do cooking streams anymore anytime soon?
So the issue is that it was a little bit too... It was prohibitively expensive at the Patreon tier we had it on, so we've had to kind of up it a lot. So hopefully, yes. But probably not in the immediate future. First, we're working on getting... we're looking to do a regular monthly patron thing where we play D&D with our patrons. That's the other thing. We stream D&D every Saturday.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Not last Saturday. Instead, they played Duck Game.
I forgot about that.
So, yeah. Go check them out. All right, so now Dork final thoughts. Dirk, I know you're probably about to pass out.
Yeah. My final thought is I am very much looking forward to this weekend. Just so I get to play cards with the dorks.
Yay.
Wait, are we going to play cards? I'm kidding.
So.
I'm kidding.
I thought we were going to play Monopoly all day.
We all hung out, but, you know.
Well, Chewy loves Monopoly, so...
No.
So, but like I said, I'm very much looking forward. It's been a while since I got to play cards, and I'm very eager to do that. And that would also give us a chance to maybe get some live episodes, or not live episodes, but, you know, some us playing cards episodes, potentially.
I would call that live, at least recorded live, as opposed to what we're doing right now. No. Recording live game.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like I said, that's my final thought is that I'm really looking forward to this weekend. It's been on the calendar for a while, and I keep looking and going, oh, so looking forward. Oh, and Science Olympiad's over. We didn't do great, but we did pretty well in some events.
Nice.
And I've got one person who she's really looking forward to doing it next year.
That's good.
That's good. So with that, I'm off to bed.
Hey,
Good night,
Dirk.
y'all.
Hey, Dirk, real quick.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
You're a teacher.
Yeah.
Would it make you feel better if you were carrying a gun in the classroom?
Absolutely not.
Oh, God. Nope. Abandoning that line of thinking right now. Moving on, Brian. What you got?
I figured he was a teacher, and that was my one-liner. Thank you. Bye. Good night, Dirk.
Good night, guys.
Night, Zerk.
Night.
All right, Brian, what you got?
What do I got? Well, after that, let's lighten it up a little bit.
Please.
No, this was fun, and I'm glad that it worked out really well. I'm also looking forward to this weekend and hopefully playing some new decks and seeing how things go. From a personal standpoint, everything's going all right, I guess. Sam's doing well in school, and everybody's happy, and, you know, life is not bad. So, could have sworn I had something more insightful to say than life is good, but hey, you know, don't rock the boat, right? So, this is me not rocking any boats. Whee!
I hear life being good is in fact good.
One would think. So, yeah, that's it.
All right, then. Beard Man.
Like I said, it was nice to sit and listen to this episode. You guys came up with some really neat ideas. Unfortunately, I just haven't been able to spend the time sitting and thinking about this topic this week. I didn't even know I hadn't read my emails to know that Brian had come up with the topic until Chewy told me about it Tuesday night, just because I'd been so busy with work that day and the day before to read anything. But
but dude, we saw Black Panther.
We did. Black Panther was very good.
I've heard it's good.
It is. It's very
pretty freaking good.
Amazingly good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when it was over, I looked at Mike, and I'm like, so that was really good, right? Mike was like, yes, it was. Okay, good.
I read an article.
Noticed that the time just zipped by.
Yeah, Mom pulled out her phone and looked at her watch. Like, looked at her watch and saw that it was 10 o'clock. And I was like, 2 hours went by? There's no way. Like, the pacing on it is just dead on. Mom didn't get up to go pee in the middle of it. That's how zippy it was. Like, if Mom gets a minute to think about it, she's going to go, oh, and she's going to get up and leave. But she didn't.
You wanted to ask something, Brian?
I was, and I'm getting tired. I probably need to go and log off. But, It was right there. Oh shoot! What did you say? At the part with the thing? Oh yeah, Black Panther. I read an article that said that Black Panther made more in its first weekend than Justice League made for the entire run, its entire domestic run.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
I read that too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. No offense to Cap, but I'm gonna head out. I will see the rest of you guys on Saturday morning.
Yay!
All right. See you then.
Bye.
Yay! Dorks. So,
of course, I'm also looking forward to Saturday. It's been about forever since I last played Magic, so it's going to be nice and fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So, what do I have going on? Nothing. I've been churning out the content, which that sounds like it's not enjoyable. I've been enjoying creating content. I only had a chance to stream once this week thus far, and it was some really bad Hearthstone, followed by some really good Overwatch with Steph, and then with later when Haley joined us with the three of us. That's Cap's wife. Haley is. And so, yeah, that was good. I had, like, a lot of people watching during the bad Hearthstone, and when I switched over to Overwatch and started enjoying myself, the numbers, like, halved. I was like, oh well. Like, I was not enjoying myself at all playing Hearthstone that night. Like, it just wasn't... The games weren't entertaining. For me, they weren't interesting. It was just bad. Bad luck, bad draws, bad everything. But I had lots of viewers. So I guess I'm not, like, an audience whore. Because I'm like, I can't take this anymore. I'm going to go play a game I like. And then within minutes, I'd lost, like a third of the viewers. And then a little while later, I'd lost like half. And I'm like, don't care. So... for anyone out there who sticks with a streamer when they switch from one game to another, bless you. You are a rarity, and you are amazing.
Like, really seriously.
Yeah. But, yeah. Over on the YouTube channel, I've had a lot of... Oh, screenshot! I just pulled up the YouTube channel, and we now have... 1337 subscribers. We are elite status.
I might have to go unsubscribe now.
Save. Oh, too late. Already got the screenshot. That's all I need.
But it can't be there. That can't be a thing. We need to make it go away.
It'll go away in a little while. Like earlier today, it was at 1334. So the number has been steadily rising thanks to that. I think thanks to the sudden subscriber spike when YouTube made their douchebag announcement.
Mm-hmm. And
my Warrior Dungeon Run video going basically viral. Like, it's got 50-some thousand views, which is way more than every other video on the channel, even the Chewy's mom videos.
Damn.
And that's because I put together Quell de Lar, which is apparently super, super rare. And I managed to do it and make a video out of it and put it up. And so lots of people have found it because apparently that's really rare. There was actually a guy that popped up on stream during the stream. He was like, I just watched your Quell de Lar video and I thought it was really funny. And he showed up on the stream. I was like, dude, that's awesome.
Oh, that's what I was there when he showed up on the stream, but I didn't know the context for it. Because I don't think I was there when you were actually doing the Quell de Lar assembly.
I mean, it was the YouTube video that he had just watched.
I know, but I haven't seen the video.
Oh. Better get on that, man. It's only got 50-some thousand views. But
look, my gut reaction to Quell de Lar is to remember that it was a massive pain to get in WoW.
Oh, it's a massive pain to get in dungeon runs, too.
Yeah, so I don't exactly want to remember that.
But yeah, I think the combination of those two things means that the exposure on the channel has gone up a lot, and people are, like, finding me through that. Like, YouTube has been like, oh, look at that sudden subscriber spike and this one video that's gotten big. We should be showing this guy to more people. And so the number has slowly been growing basically every day, which is amazing. Like I said, just like a month ago, we crossed 1,000 and we're already at 1337. And before that, I'd been at like 825 for months, plural. So that's awesome. A big thanks to all of you that subscribed back then, or that have done so since then. Yay. But anyway, there's been mostly stream highlights from Hearthstone and Overwatch streams going up on the YouTube channel because I'm trying desperately to get caught up on other things. So they're easier to go ahead and cut up and edit and render and make a thumbnail and boom, good to go, since they've already been recorded because they were from a stream. I still have to spend the time to like dig through the stream and find things that are worth putting up, but you know, still, it's faster than sitting down to record new things, and that gives me time to get caught up on odds and ends, for example, which is what I've been doing for the last couple days. I'm only like, well, now I think after this I'm only 2 away from being completely caught up, which is awesome. When I had the bad brain time in, it was either November or December, I sort of fell behind on those and never got caught back up. So I'm trying desperately to get caught back up, and I should have that done in another day or two, which is sick. Oh wait, no, because Saturday we're all getting together. So Saturday's out. Saturday's just a bust as far as any content creation that goes public. Sorry. I gotta go play Magic with my dorks. But anyway, you can find us all over the internet as The Mana Pool. It's the Twitch channel is twitch.tv/TheManaPool. The YouTube, youtube.com/TheManaPool. Over on Instagram, I have been, whenever I make a thumbnail that I really like, I get it somewhere on the internet or where I can access it from my phone, usually by sending it to Cap. I sent Cap a thumbnail that I was just proud of. I'm like, hey, look what I did. And he's like, are you just sending this to me so you can put it on Instagram? And I heard a ding in my head. I was like, well, now I am, yeah. So
silly me, thought it was while you were actually doing it.
No, I was sharing. I was like, dude, look what I did. I like this. And you were like, is that all? Am I a receptacle for your Instagram? Yes, you are. So but yeah, whenever I make a thumbnail that I'm especially happy with, I throw it up on Instagram. That's The Mana Pool. Twitter, of course, is The Mana Pool. Facebook, The Mana Pool. All these things are The Mana Pool. The website is themanapool.com, where you'll find all of the podcasts. I'm digging around in WordPress to figure out how to get like a sidebar of like YouTube videos so you can actually find everything there. But I don't know WordPress, so it's slow. Although I did finally remove the Card Shark ad.
I noticed that a little while ago.
Bill was like, you could probably just find it. I was like, really? And I couldn't find it. And then I realized Scott had actually hard-coded it into the theme. And I was like, whoa. So I actually figured out how to un-hard-code it out of the theme. And I was proud of that. I was like, dude, hit refresh. Dude, look, hit refresh. And Bill hit refresh. He's like, hey, it's gone. I'm like, yeah. So, yeah, that's a thing I should have done, a long time ago, but I didn't know I had that access. Bad at this game. Because Scott was the webmaster. I didn't realize I could do all that. But anyway, shutting up now. So, if you want to help support what I do with this ridiculous amount of content creation, that's 2 podcasts a week. Hey, don't forget, I do Monday Night Magic, too, with Squee, that's Bill, and Clues. 2 podcasts a week, all these YouTube videos and Twitch streams and all of that. There are a variety of ways that you can help support me or show some love. You can just go subscribe to the YouTube channel or just watch YouTube videos. That helps a lot. If you enjoy my personality here, chances are you'll enjoy my personality there. You can follow me on Twitch. You can go subscribe on Twitch if you have Amazon Prime. You can link it to a Twitch account, have Twitch Prime. When you have Twitch Prime, you get 1 subscription token to give out every month. And I always encourage people to go hand that out to a small streamer like myself and Cap, because we appreciate it a whole lot more, just purely on percentage.
We will gladly take Amazon's money.
We will. And if you've got Amazon Prime and you're not using that, you should totally do that, because it's a thing that you have that you can use to make a smaller streamer extremely happy. Just with like a click. Like, hey, subscribe, Twitch Prime, done. And you have to do that manually every month is the only downside. But still, we really do appreciate it. Like a lot. Like damn. Right, so that was YouTube, Twitch. Yeah, you can just subscribe to the podcast or tell other people about all this content. All of these things help. Or the most direct way to help is to go to patreon.com/themanapool and sign up for I hate the word donation, even though that's what it is. I just don't like the word. But you can...
Obligation.
An obligation. Tax. But, yeah, you can get early stuff, Mana Pool episodes, and YouTube videos early. You can get the early stuff and the odds and ends, which is all the stuff recorded before and after both Monday Night Magic and the Mana Pool that is uncensored and unfiltered. And
it's quite worth it.
Generally unsafe for consumption. Cap says it's worth it. I've had several people say that it's worth it. I have to listen to it, usually at 1.5 speed, while I'm playing Hearthstone or Heroes of the Storm. Because I try not to edit anything. I edit out personal information and things like that, but that's about it. But I always listen through it anyway, so I can make essentially show notes, just a list of things that we talked about or things that we said or whatnot, so you know what you're getting into before you hit play. And if you want, you can go super generous, become a lifeguard. Get it? Mana Pool? Lifeguard? It's funny. You can get the early stuff, the odds and ends, and you'll get a shout out on both podcasts, and your name will be on the end screen of each video that goes up during every month that you support at that tier. So to that end, I would like to thank the following very generous lifeguards: Kim Ho, Andrew Hunt, Al, Corey Cloutier, Paul David, Lance Delicious, Team U, Hellas Are You, John Morris, Stuart Slaw, PJ McMullen, Bosco Brittain, Casey, Nathan Hay, Danny Liao, AJ Javieres, Cody Buckowing, Jacob Jansons, Jason Kaus, Brian DeLucci, Stark Maximum, Jimmy Scott, Dan Holm, Mike Millerburn, and, of course, the Beast Father, Aaron Goodwine. He's the Beast Father because he's the guy who sent me the... It was the motherboard, the RAM. Now I feel like a terrible person. I was like, it wasn't the video card because that I got that. On the hard drive. I think it might, and the processor. I knew there's a piece I'm missing that is currently resides in the Beast. You know, the PC that allows me to do all these things, because before I was recording Hearthstone on a laptop, and that was really crappy. So, thank you, Beast Father. Someone asked me, why do you call him that out in the odds and the shoutouts? And so there, I've explained it. But anyway, seriously though, a big thanks to all of the lifeguards. I could not, literally could not do this without you. But of course, a thanks to all of the patrons out there at all the tiers, because your generosity is very much appreciated, because, let's face it, all of my content is completely free. I don't consider odds and ends content. That's nonsense. But all of my actual content, I refuse to put behind a paywall of any sort. So... all of your support is voluntary and out of the goodness of your heart, and I really, really do appreciate it. But with that, I will shut up finally so that we can end this episode. I have no idea how long it's going because I had to stop the recording earlier because somebody said a bad word, and it wasn't Cap. Yeah, I would have lost that bet.
I would have lost that bet too.
But anyway, so this has been episode 498 of the Mana Pool. Thank you again, Cap, for joining us on this topic where you have way more expertise than the rest of us just because of the sheer breadth of flavors of games that you play.
It's just because I'm insane.
Also that, yeah. So, thank you all so very much for listening, and go play some Magic.